Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. We're doing Iyun Benzion today, the last daf in the third parak in Kesubos, daf Mem Aleph, number 41. I want to talk today about, the Gemara discusses today about Chatzi Nezek, really a sugya in Baba Kama. If your ox gores another person or another animal, so if it's a tom, right, if it hasn't been worn if it hasn't been done it 3 times yet and been warned and based in, so it's considered a tom, and only pays Chatzi Nezek, you only pay half of the value of the damage, usually. As opposed to a muad that's scored 3 times, been worn and based in, so then you pay Nezek Shalim. So this is a din by Karen when it gores. The Gemara's machlokas, whether it's considered, this Chatzi Nezek, is it considered a monetary restitution? Meaning technically you should be paying for everything, but the Torah, since your animal wasn't worn yet, so therefore the Torah had Rachmanas, had compassion, you only pay Chatzi Nezek, but it really is restitution for what you did, for the damage you did. Or maybe I don't have to watch a shore until it gores 3 times, and the reason that I have to pay Chatzi Nezek, according to Rav Huna Bar Yeshua, which is how we paskin, is because it's a knas, it's a fine. So we deter you from, we make sure that you watch your animals, because it could be you have a wild animal, a wild ox. We want to make sure that your ox doesn't gore a person or someone else's property. So we impose a fine to deter you from, letting your ox roam freely. You have to watch it. So that's the halacha. We pass it. Chatzi Nezek is a knas, and the Gemara says that based on that, we don't collect knasos now in Bavel. The Gemara's time in Bavel, you don't collect knasos because there was no smicha in Bavel. In Eretz Yisrael at that time there was smicha. There was a tradition passed down from Moshe Rabbeinu to whatever judges in that time, so they could collect knas. It says Elokim in the Torah to collect the knas. Shir Hashem Elokim. You need dayanim that have smicha, real smicha, coming, Rab mipi Rab or Dayan mipi Dayan, all the way back from Moshe Rabbeinu, someone to be somich. In Bavel, they didn't have smicha. We're going to discuss this more exactly why in Bavel they didn't have smicha. Because in Eretz Yisrael they had smicha, so they collect knasos at the time of the Gemara. In Bavel, they couldn't collect knasos in the time of the Gemara because there was no elokim, there was no smicha. However, if you were tofes the knas, right, if you're shore gored and you have to pay the knas to pay Chatzi Nezek, if the person whose property was damaged goes into your possession and takes either the animal that gored or other property, he gets to keep it. Lo mafkino, we don't force him to get rid of it. How much could he take? So there's a machlokas over here. If you want to see it laid out clearly over here, in footnote number 26 here in the art scroll, they bring 2 opinions, Rabbeinu Tam and the Rush. Rabbeinu Tam says that basically all you can take is the animal that gored. You can't take, because if you take other property, it's possible the other property is worth more than the Chatzi Nezek. And if we allow you to take other property, then just like Benzion can't enforce the knas to take Chatzi Nezek, they also can't take out the extraneous stuff that you took. It's not fair, right? He's only responsible to pay 100, and he takes the property. He takes his Rolex that's worth a lot more, and Benzion, they can't judge knasos in Bavel. That's not fair. Rabbeinu Tam says you can't take others. There's no heter to take other stuff. The Rush says no. He can take other stuff, whatever he can get his hands on, and that's not called judging knasos by returning it to him. The article continues, so Rabbeinu Tam seems to say that it's derabbanan, this idea that you can be tofes. The allowance for you to be tofes, and they don't have to return it, is only derabbanan. And this is cited by the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch. The Rush, however, disputes this and says that it's midal raisa, his right to take the knas is midal raisa in Bavel. And that's basically what they say. So I want to explain. I feel the opinion should be like Rabbeinu Tam for the following reason. The difference in a knas and tashlum and restitution. The knas is I had this investigations, analyzation previously in the beginning of the parak. What is the point of a knas? Is the knas basically a big punishment because you did an avera? So you did an avera that was bad, so they gave you a punishment. It's a punishment, or is it just to deter you from doing? It's a fine imposed to deter you from doing something. I think that just makes more sense logically. If you think of like a speeding ticket, right? You guys, why do they have a speed limit? Why is there a fine? Why do you lose points? Why do you get a ticket? You have to pay money when you break the speed limit. The reason is they don't want you speeding. It's to deter you from speeding. And if you sped, so it'll deter you in the future from speeding again. It's a deterrent. It's not there's something wrong with driving 70 miles an hour. I mean, it is dangerous to drive 70, 80 miles an hour on the highway, but it's more of a deterrent. They don't want you to do that, right? The punishment, you know, if you're drunk driving while you're drunk, also, right? These fines, you have to go to jail, things like that, are just to deter you. We don't want to create a situation where people that are driving while they're drunk. So these are all knossos. Knossos is a really deterrent. That's what it is. I really believe that the reason it was only in Eretz Yisrael this time and not in Bavel is that Eretz Yisrael this time was predominantly Jewish. It's predominantly Jewish. When it's predominantly Jewish and it's ruled by the Jews, so there's authority, right? You can only enforce a knas, a fine, if you have authority. If you have authority over the people, you have authority over the people, right? That's how the court system works. The judicial system works, is that we have the power over you to take the money from you. So in Eretz Yisrael, they had that power over them. They judged knossos because they could deter you. In Bavel, which is predominantly a non-Jewish area, even when the Jews populated that area. Think of Lakewood, you know, it's in America. Lakewood's maybe predominantly Jewish, that township, but most of America is not Jewish. Less than 1% is Jewish. So if you want to say that it's going to be a deterrent, you can only have a deterrent if it's enforceable by a court, and it's not enforceable by a court if it's not a Jewish country. So that's why I think it doesn't exist in Bavel at the time of the Gemara. Not necessarily because they couldn't, because why? If they had smicha in Israel, why couldn't the people go to Bavel and give smicha to the people in Bavel? It's just basically where the court system, and nowadays, even in Eretz Yisrael, right, it's a secular court. There's no authority to enforce the Dinei Torah over here. The reason you're toves lo mafkina, the reason if you grab payment for it lo mafkina, we don't remove it from you. It has to be the Rabbanan. Because a mamon restitution means I really owe the guy money. A knas means I really don't owe the guy money. It's not because I'm punishing you because you did something really bad. It's not because of the Aveira. It's not directly related to what you did. It's just a deterrent that you shouldn't do it again. There's no connection. They just determine an amount that's fair in order to be a good enough amount to deter you from doing something they don't want you to do. So there's no dinei shamai. You're not obligated to the guy any money. So when the Chazal allowed you, tafas lo mafkin, if he takes it, they allow you to keep it. That's only the Rabbanan they allowed you to do that. It's kind of the Rabbanan. And therefore, if you took more than you do, I agree with Rabbeinu Tam that if your Beis Din has to enforce it, and you grab the gold Rolex watch, and Beis Din has to return the watch, that's something they don't have the jurisdiction to do in Bavel. There's no court system. They can't enforce that. It's not a monetary value it's on there. It's just a deterrent. They allowed you, the Rabbanan, to collect on that because in principle he did something right. He did something that warrants a knas, but it's only the Rabbanan, not be the right. So that's what I think the Reb Shad is. I hope you enjoyed today's shir. See you tomorrow in the next parak.